This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shasheena Rolle. As always, it's so great to have you with us. Topping news, the largest fabrication order ever exported from the Bahamas to the United States is now complete. Porco awarded the multi-million-dollar contract to Quality Services back in March. It was the first time Buckeye awarded a major contract to a Bahamian contractor for work on a United States terminal. Today, a send-off ceremony was held, and officials believe this is a start to a better working relationship between the two major companies. Before the opening ceremony began, officials saw firsthand the project that injected millions of dollars in the local economy, as well as provided job opportunities and training for Bahamians in the industrial sector. After 4 months of hard labor, Rudy Diagert of Quality Services Limited says they've completed a major fabrication job for Porco, which is a key component in Buckeye's New York Harbor terminal.
QSL has competed for this project with several companies from the United States of America and was selected by Buckeye on the basis of our competitive proposition of quality, reliability, and price. We're very grateful to Buckeye for having had the vision and the courage to consider QSL as a viable contender for this key project.
CEO of Buckeye, Clark Smith, says the contract awarded to Quality Services is estimated at $3.5 million. While Buckeye could have chosen a U.S.-based company, he says they believed in Quality Services' positive reputation and proven track record.
It's a $3.5 million project going into a project, another terminal in the New York Harbor. That's a $200 million modernization project, much like the money we've invested here at Porco since we bought it. We're doing the same thing with the facility in the New York Harbor. And this manifold is extremely important. This is one of 6 of the components that'll be moved by barge over to the New York Harbor. It'll be in operation in April 2014. And the total value of that project is over $500 million.
Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, applauded the two companies for their partnership.
Quality Services is a company that uses both Bahamian and foreign labor, has now created something that will bear the mark made in Bahamas, which will play an integral part in the operations of Buckeye Terminal Facility in New Jersey. This is indeed a true testament of the development of our industrial sector and a significant milestone for Grand Bahama.
Now the manifold will be transported by ship and will be fully installed and ready for service by April 2014. Well, the Bahamas Union of Teachers turning up the heat as they continue the petition for the removal of the principal of the Maurice Moore Primary School. Despite a warning from the Minister of Education, teachers did not report to work at 8:45 a.m., but instead attended a meeting with union officials at the BPSU Hall. As Sabrina Brown tells us, this protest is moving up a notch.
More than 300 teachers packed the BPSU Hall Monday morning as the standoff between the Bahamas Union of Teachers and the Ministry of Education continues. The controversy centers around the management style of the principals at the Maurice Moore Primary School here in Freeport and Anatole Rogers in New Providence. While the union is continuing the call for the removal of Mildred Roberts as principal of the Maurice Moore Primary School, the Minister of Education, Jerome Fitzgerald, says she will remain at that institution. Area Vice President of the BUT, Quentin LaRota, says the minister's response to the issue is cause for concern.
When you're going to use the police force to intimidate union officials and teachers, that's a no-no in education. We also, teachers expressed their concerns well this morning. This is the first Minister of Education we've had in a long time who seems to have no heart for teachers and no respect for what I call the dignity of the profession. He seems to be above teachers and looks down at us and is not interested really in hearing our true concerns.
LaRota is adamant that the union's position regarding the Maurice Moore principal is indeed justified.
All the minister have to do, or the director, is look at the reports from the deputy director and the superintendent on the complaints at Maurice Moore. Any research in the principal history from Martintown 15 years ago, from working with Sheila Scavell and Barbara Thompson, it is clear. You could look at the recommendation from the former superintendent Hezekiah Dane, who was a renowned educator in this country.
The labor leader says the union will stand firm in an effort to ensure that the rights of teachers are protected.
Teachers are unafraid. We won't be bullied by his tactics. We don't care if he's belligerent. We stand strong. We know that we have legal rights, but even more than that, we have moral grounds to stand on.
The teachers are not alone in this fight. They are also getting support from human rights activists Joseph Darville and Troy Garvey.
This is not the way you deal with professional people. This nation depends on the good nature, the goodwill, the hard work, and the professionalism of all our teachers. And for them to be derided the way they have been over the last couple of days does not redound for a good working relationship, a good atmosphere within the school setting.
How do you move many because of the actions of one? And then you stand behind the principal. Well, how you stand behind the principal, but you still can get rid of the people or transfer the people who just standing up for the righteousness of the school?
Now 3 teachers have been transferred from the Maurice-Moore Primary School and 1 expat teacher terminated. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Sabrina. Well, during an interview with ZNS News, the minister noted that he will receive the names of all teachers who did not report to work at 8:45 this morning, and he added that the appropriate action will be taken. Meantime, the Director of Education, Lionel Sands, is coming to the defense of embattled Maurice-Moore Primary School Principal Mildred Roberts. He says the minister has said that the case is not a substantive one and the principal will remain in place. He is challenging the union's call for her removal. He says in such cases, proper protocol must be followed.
No one has the authority to take the position from them, save and except for the same persons who made the provisions for them to become principal, and that's the Public Service Commission through the Office of the Governor General. In order for that to happen, those persons must completely fail to execute their duties. In order for that to happen, for us to recommend to the Public Service Commission and the Governor General to have their position removed from them. So this notion that the union could call and ask for the removal of a principal is nonsense. Because the Ministry of Education does not appoint principal or administrators. The Governor General of the Bahamas does that. And there's a process for the removal of a principal, and that process ought to be followed after it has been proven that the principal is ineffective and unable to execute her duties or his duties.
Now, Sands says the principal in question was once elected Teacher of the Year. He says this is no small feat and is proof that Mildred Roberts is making an invaluable contribution to the education system. He says Mildred Roberts' track record is indeed commendable.
There are some teachers, as you will find in any school, there are some teachers, if, for example, they've been allowed to do whatever it is they choose to do, and somebody else comes along and try to clamp down on that and bring some order to the place, there is a resistance. That is the understanding that I'm getting. Now, Mrs. Roberts, like anybody else, any other administrator may have whatever little challenges they have with respect to any number of persons. We all have that. But it doesn't change the fact that she's an excellent teacher, an excellent principal. And I'm a director. Not everybody agree with my style of directorship. I don't expect everybody to agree with it. But that's not everybody's job. Everybody's job is to do what you're called to do. And let my superiors determine whether I'm carrying out the job effectively. That is what the union ought to be doing.
Now, the Director of Education says the ministry is satisfied that the Maurice-Moore principal is a great educator and notes that even if the union shares a different view, their current public stance is not the right way to deal with this issue. He says the union should be reaching out to help the principal, who is also a union member. Meantime, Minister for Local Government, the Honorable V. Alfred Gray, meeting with local government practitioners on Grand Bahama late Friday. The minister reminding practitioners of the state of the country's finances and advising them to always make wise decisions.
The central government has to take a position in accordance with the circumstances which prevail financially, and all of us are affected by that. The country's finances are not its best. You as practitioners have become used to a certain level of expenditure, and so have I. This ain't good news, but it's true. And I've come to tell you the truth, and then I've come to give you some directions. And whatever directions I give you, I'm expecting you to carry it out, because you know the minister's word is final.
Now, Minister Gray held an open meeting with local government elected officers, and following that meeting, he held a closed session at the new C.A. Smith complex. The local government minister urged practitioners to keep politics out of local government and to direct their focus on community development.
You are not politicians. Some of you act like politicians, but you are not. You were elected by a certain group of people in a certain constituency, in a certain township, to represent their interest. You should neither be PLP or F&M in the administration of your duties. Because once you start to become politicians, then you have technically lost your way.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, continues right after this.